I'm Willa Kaiser. I'm the director of the Caduceus Institute of Classical Homeopathy, and all over the country we're really experiencing a bad heat wave right now. And it's really good to know that homeopathy has some very powerful remedies that can help with both heat prostration and heat exhaustion. So basically, it's just a matter of how bad the symptoms are. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about remedies that would be good to keep around and that you can use right away if anybody is reacting badly to the heat. Of course, it's very, very important to stay hydrated, take electrolytes if you're sweating a lot, and of course, avoiding being out in the sun when it's very, very hot. Those things you have to do, whether or not you're using homeopathy or not, or just trying to do the best things for your body. So let me just tell you a little bit about these remedies. The first one that we think of when it's too hot is belladonna. The word belladonna means beautiful woman, and in the old days, Italian women would actually put some of these drops into their eyes to make their pupils dilate, which made them look more beautiful, they thought. So that's where the name belladonna came from. But it's a great remedy, and probably the first remedy we think of when somebody is suffering from the heat, especially if their face is very red, they have a throbbing headache, as I said, flushed face, flushed cheeks, although the body may feel chilled, but in general with belladonna, the head is going to feel very hot and throbbing. The pupils may be dilated, and they may have a splitting headache that feels worse from bright lights or noise or that kind of thing. So we often think of belladonna first. Belladonna and a lot of these remedies work best in a higher potency, like 200C. But if you can only get a hold of a 30C, that's fine too. Just use whatever you've got. And then a remedy that's very similar to belladonna, um, that is lesser known, is called Glonoinum. And it has a symptom picture very similar to belladonna. So if somebody has that red face and throbbing headache and they're not responding to belladonna, you could try Glonoinum. Glonoinum also has a violent headache. There may be some dizziness with the headache. The skin may feel hot and dry, and they may be peeing a lot. So this pulsating, throbbing headache. So those are the two remedies we think of most often when somebody is having a reaction to intense heat. But there are a few others I want to mention to you. One is aconite. This is a very common remedy in croup and sudden high fevers, but it can also be used in heat stroke and heat prostration, especially if the symptoms come on very, very suddenly and intensely. And if the person has a headache and is feeling very, very sensitive to light. And just as belladonna may have these dilated pupils, with aconite, the pupils may actually be constricted. So that could be one way to determine if the symptoms are coming on very intensely and their pupils look overly constricted. Of course, when you're out in the sun, it's going to be constricted anyway, but if it seems overly constricted, you might think of aconite. And aconite is definitely a remedy that works best in higher potencies, 200C or 1M. But again, if you can only get a 30C, which is normally what you're going to find in the health food stores or in a lot of home care kits, you can go ahead and use what you've got. If the person is very, very dry, with parched lips and very, very thirsty for large amounts of liquids and very irritable with a bursting, splitting headache, and just don't want to move even their eyeballs. They feel like, oh, I can't even move my eyes because any kind of motion is painful. So that heat and dryness and aversion to motion could indicate bryonia. And Bryonia alba is a great remedy in first aid in general, used for fractures and headaches that aren't necessarily associated with heat. It's in most home remedy kits, so that's another one to consider, especially if the person is extremely dry, their lips are parched and chapped, and they're very, very thirsty and irritable. And finally, I just wanted to mention a remedy when somebody is really in a much worse state of heat stroke or sunstroke, where they're in a state of collapse. Of course, this is, at this stage, it's a medical emergency and they should be receiving medical care. But if you have this remedy around, if they're feeling cold, clammy, nauseous, a headache, they have cold sweat, the skin may be turning blue and be cold, and they're feeling what we call an air hunger. They want to be fanned. They feel like they're not getting enough air. This is definitely a state of a medical emergency. And a remedy that can help on the way to the ER is carbovegetabilis. So carbo-veg, as we call it, can be helpful in these more extreme states of sunstroke or heat stroke. So it's a good remedy to keep on hand. Hopefully nobody gets to that state, but it is a good remedy to know about for your emergency kit. So I hope that helps. Stay cool, stay safe, drink a lot of fluids, and we'll see you next time.